Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I am reviewing the Tudor Black Bay Bronze, model number M79250BA. This watch is from my personal collection. It was purchased used, and I've owned it for about 6 months at this point. So, Tudor introduced the Black Bay Bronze in 2016 with a brown dial and bezel insert. This version was introduced in 2019, and it replaced the 2016 model. And so now it features a slate dial and bezel insert, but otherwise it's essentially the same watch as original. There is also a blue variant tied to a specific retailer, I think one in the UK and then one in the US, which I guess is owned by the one in the UK. And so that does exist for those looking for a different color option. In terms of specifications, this watch features 200 meters of water resistance. Tudor lists the diameter at 43 millimeters. Using my calipers, I get a lug-to-lug distance of 52.4 millimeters. I get a thickness without the strap of 14.6 millimeters, and I get a lug width for the strap at 23 millimeters. Looking at the face of this watch, one can see that the slate dial starts lightest in tone or color at the center, and then it gets darker as you move towards the bezel. The text on the dial is a gilt print with the Tudor shield and name towards the 12 o'clock position and the water resistance and chronometer certification towards the 6 o'clock position. As Tudor does with its Black Bay line, you can see the familiar snowflake hands in play here. Applied dot indices populate the dial at every hour position except the 12, which has a triangle, and the 3, 6, and 9 have applied Arabic numerals. There are no complications on this watch. It is time only. The sapphire crystal is domed. You can sort of see that now. The watch features a unidirectional rotating bezel with 120 clicks. As you can see, the bezel is very easy to turn, and there's not really any play. Just if you're in between clicks, it will go back to where the click portion was at, but then it's good. And it all seems to line up quite well with the markings on the dial itself. So we're back to center. All the applied markers as well as all three hands are loomed. So I will now insert some footage so you can see the watch's loom in action. The case itself is brushed. You can see that it's not particularly shiny anymore, so the patina has clearly started and it's darkened the watch in a relatively even fashion. The bezel insert is not ceramic, it's aluminum. The crown of the watch features the historic Tudor rose logo, which has been essentially replaced by the shield, but they do use the rose on a few of their watches. The crown does screw down. We're currently in position 0, and we've got the crown screwed down all the way. In position 1, the watch can be wound. It's fairly quiet in this casing, but we'll see if you can hear it here. Very smooth action on the wind. In position 2, we can now set the watch. As you can see, the second hand, which is currently at the 3 o'clock position, has stopped moving, so this watch does feature hacking. And it's all pretty straightforward from there. And we'll screw that back in to have the water resistance restored to the 200 meters. As you can see, this watch has a closed caseback. You can see how shiny the caseback is compared to the rest of the watch, which has the patina on it. And the reason for this is the caseback is not actually bronze. This is PVD-coated steel. And the reason for this is that bronze can discolor the skin, and it can cause skin irritation. So it is pretty standard practice to not have components that regularly rust against the skin to be made out of bronze when it comes to watches. But this can also give you a good sense as to what the watch would originally look like if it did not have a patina. Incidentally, it is possible to clean patina off. So there are plenty of guides online that will tell you how to use some household ingredients if you want to take the patina off of a watch that was already patinaed that you purchased, or if you're someone that just doesn't like the patina over time and wants to regularly keep it shiny. Now, this watch originally came on a leather strap, and it's available on either a leather strap or a cloth strap. As I'm not a particular fan of leather straps on dive watches, I've ended up putting on a third-party nylon strap. I'm not going to review the strap here since it's not one that you're actually going to get when you buy a watch. But if you are interested in this strap, I will say that it is from Crown & Buckle. It's called the Chevron 50. And this is the 22 millimeter version. So I wanted to go ahead and give you a look to see how much of a gap of the spring bar you can actually see when you put a 22 millimeter watch band on a 23 millimeter lug width. I personally don't think it's a big deal to use the 22 millimeter because I think at a distance, no one's going to notice it except you. It's only when you're looking up close can you really see much of the spring bar at all, especially given the profile of this watch. I have read that there are others who have taken the Tudor Black Bay Bronze and used a 24 millimeter strap and sort of scrunched it. But in my opinion, this will work just fine. It's just noteworthy for those that haven't purchased many straps that in odd millimeter sizes, there isn't a lot of choice. You can get custom leather made, but as I noted, I'm not a fan of leather on dive watches. So when looking for things like NATOs or nylons, they're usually in increments of 2, so like 18, 20, 22, 24. So anyway, this is a 22 millimeter strap for those that were curious. This watch features Tudor's MT5601 caliber movement that is COSC certified. It runs at 4 Hertz and it has a 70-hour power reserve. In terms of measured accuracy, I used the Watch Accuracy Meter app on my cell phone to measure the watch in 6 different positions. I got an average of no change in seconds per day. Technically, it was a slight loss, but the app would not estimate a value other than 0, so I didn't even get a tenth of a second on the estimate. But it did have a minus sign, so it skews to loss. Which isn't surprising when you know that the positional range was minus 3 seconds per day to 0 seconds per day. So my own measurements do correspond with the COSC certification standard. Now I want to give you a wrist shot. My wrist is 6.75 inches. So I'm going to give you a sense as to how a watch this big wears with a third-party strap. You can also sort of see how noticeable or not noticeable the spring bars are with a 22 millimeter strap on a 23 millimeter lug width. So, what are my overall thoughts on this watch? I'd say the positives are it's got extreme accuracy, it has an easy to read dial, it has a great power reserve. I also think the lume is great. And it has a good aesthetic that seemed to really factor in how the watch would look with and without patina. In terms of the negatives, I'd say there are 2 notable ones. The first is the 23 millimeter lug width is a weird width to go with. And while I think it's not too bad, it's still unfortunate. And second, the watch is huge. So Tudor does sell this watch on their website for $4,150. Overall, this is perhaps my favorite bronze watch design. It's the favorite of any that I saw that at least were in my price range, hence why I ended up buying one. I really like that the dial is balanced and that there's no date function with it. It's really accurate and it has that awesome power reserve level, so I just think it's super functional. My biggest gripe has to be the strap. I've heard great things about Tudor's cloth straps, but the used model I bought came with the leather strap, which was okay in terms of comfort, but I think leather is a strange choice for dive watches, so I actually ordered this nylon strap before the watch even arrived so that I could do a swap out. And that's really just from a tool perspective. I just don't think people dive with leather on. So I've gone with the nylon strap. It looks very similar to the style, the color, the chevron patterns is very much mimicking as best I could what Tudor would sell in their cloth strap option. It's fine in terms of comfort. I really wish Tudor had continued to provide both straps. They actually did give the cloth and the leather version when you would buy the 2016 model. So they changed that up so you only got one with this 2019 model, which I think is really unfortunate. Otherwise, as noted, my only real gripe is this is a pretty big watch. Going with over 52 millimeters on the lug-to-lug is really noticeable. I do notice this watch in terms of its size and its weight while I wear it, and it's pretty much pushing in my comfort zone, the largest I could really get away with. So honestly, I really think that if this was just 2 millimeters smaller, which would put it in line with the other Black Bays, the non-58s, at 41 millimeter diameter and shrinking the lug to lug accordingly, I think it would just be a lot more comfortable. Thanks for watching this review video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like as it helps the channel out. Subscribe if you'd like to be automatically notified when I release new videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.